Business depends on how well we establish good customer experience. So even though the situation outside of us is complicated, our task has not changed. Whether it's boom time or hard times, we're in the business of providing a great guest experience. And this building is more perfectly suited for it. To do that, to accomplish that, this staff is more wonderful than ever before because of the choices we had. They're better trained. We have plenty of time to get everybody ready. They're all full of enthusiasm. They feel safe. That's my job. And so, in the midst of these issues that you've raised, our life remains relatively simple. You know what changes? The room price. To us, room price is a human resource decision, not a matter of survival. And that's a luxury these days, but it's a luxury not to us. To us, it's a necessity. I can't really let this company get in a position where we bounce around our workforce or our customer experience because there's an economic slowdown. I mean, whether you're at 60% occupancy or 96% occupancy, there are people that are paying to stay in your building. Well, you don't get to make excuses to them like, okay, we'll have breakfast in 2 hours for you in room service because it's a slow period instead of 20 minutes. That doesn't work. That's not okay. Unless you're running McDonald's where people don't expect as much. But we're not that kind of a company. We're a top-end niche operator. And we don't get to change the program. We have to be consistent. That's how I see my job. And I'm feeling really good about the new hotel.
Yeah, well, and you have five restaurants,
Five or six.
Five restaurants, 7 bars and lounges. The restaurants, different than Wynn, giving a different experience than Wynn?
Yeah, they're all different. And they add to the menu, you know what I mean? We want them to be different, yes.
Again, it probably boils down to choice. I mean, you can choose to go different places and do different things.
Yeah. Oops.
That's fine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We don't want to spoil the surprise at Switch. The Sinatra business, this is ecstasy for me.
I've heard you like this restaurant.
I've been sitting in my office for the past week since the Sinatra family gave me Frank's Academy Award from Here to Eternity and the Emmy for The Man and His Music, and I've had them on my desk. I hate to give it up. I've been listening to Sinatra in my office and holding the Academy Award, which had to be one of the great moments in his life. And I was so excited, I called up Steve Lawrence and said, Steve, you got to come over here. I got the Oscar. The kids have let me have the Oscar for the restaurant. So we're going to, and the songs that are going to play here, Sinatra introduces them himself. He went and taped a bunch of conversation about his music, so you'll hear him in the room. And we're going to show videos of he and I and Dean Martin and some other fun things. And so if you're a Sinatra person, and Sinatra's friends like Steve and Edie and Tony Bennett and folks like that, Dean Martin, this will be a place that you'll feel real comfortable in.
So you're using modern luxuries with the history of Vegas, right?
It's not a museum in terms of Sinatra. What we try to do here is to bring the charisma of Sinatra to your dinner. You're surrounded by him here. You know, and where else would you expect Frank Sinatra's name to be on a menu except in a top hotel, in a top Italian restaurant in Las Vegas, operated by a person who had a real relationship with him? You know, if you think about it, the people that had relationships with Sinatra, they're getting older too. His kids and I are in our 60s. Steve and Edie and Tony Bennett and Quincy Jones are in their 70s and Tony's 81. There's not a lot of people that had, there are not a lot of us around, Phyllis McGuire, that really hung with Sinatra. Even though I was young enough to be his son, we did work together for 4 or 5 years, which was a wonderful time. And fortunately, I have video and audio memories of those things, and I want to share them with people. And fortunately, the music is as good as ever.
Is this going to be one of your favorite restaurants?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I must admit it.
Good. Well, and just one last thing, real quick. Phil Ruffin, going to move in diagonally across the street. He said had a good phone call, had a good conversation with you when he bought the property.
Yeah.
What do you?
Phil's a good guy.
How do you advise
I never thought he
him?
could get that price for the property. And I said, I'll kiss your butt in front of Caesars if you can get that number. And he's been very generous in not making me kiss his butt. But he sold that property for a galactic price in any period. Nobody ever paid that kind of money for land in this town. And now I called him up. He called me and I returned his call. And I said, well, what happened, buddy? Did you miss the neighborhood? He says, yes. He says, I didn't know what to do with the cash. It burnt a hole in my pocket. He said, you think I made a good deal? I said, probably, sure. He said, good. And the kid who's running the place, Tom Mikulich, started with me as a slot manager at the Nugget. So the kid who's running the hotel is a seasoned, experienced guy, and Phil's going to keep Mikulich. So the casino hotel is in good hands. Phil won't change a thing. He'll just be, but there is now a change. There's an individual owner. There's a dada there. There's somebody home accountable. And Phil put up $500 million in equity and borrowed $250 from Kirk. That's a safe deal. Ain't nobody going to foreclose on that, and he could go get that $250 from any bank. If you put up $500, he can get Kirk's, I think, lent it to him for 2 years at 10%.
Bonds, yeah.
He can go borrow that money for less money. The point is that Phil has got all the money it takes to keep all the employees of Treasure Island rock solid safe. There'll be no jumping around at Treasure Island anymore once Phil takes over. That's a good thing for Treasure Island, a good thing for the neighborhood.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Wynn.